This is Fishing Among the Indians of Northwestern California by A.L. Crover and S.A. Barrett, and this is from volume 21, number 1. Regularly used for nets, bags, snares, and the like, was made exclusively from the leaf of Iris macrosiphon. This is a small plant with a white flower. Each leaf yielded only 2 fine white silky fibers. These were extracted by the women with the aid of an artificial thumbnail of mussel shell. The leaves of this Iris macrosiphon are from 1 to 2 feet in length and not over 1/4 of an inch in width, and are flat almost to the root. They are red-purple at the base, white a little further up, and finally green throughout the remainder of that part of their length, which is above ground and in the light. The leaves are usually gathered by women, though men may assist. Each leaf is torn from the plant with the bare hands. As a handful of leaves accumulates, it is tied into a bundle with one of the leaves around it and dropped into a burden basket. On arrival at the camp or home, these bundles are hung up overnight, but not where smoke will reach them. This procedure is necessary to permit the 2 contained fibers to be extracted without breaking as they are peeled out. The resultant product from each leaf is 2 white silken fibers. They are twisted into string by the men, who roll them on the bare thigh. My name is Tamara Wilder, and I'm here today to discuss a little bit about iris fiber processing for making string. Iris fiber is a hard fiber, meaning that it's extracted from the leaf of a monocotyledon plant. The monocotyledon plants are the older ones, and in those they have what's called a hard leaf fiber, where the fiber actually runs the entire distance of the leaf. In most hard fiber plants, there's multiple numbers of them in each leaf. So you actually extract a whole bunch of fibers out of one leaf. The iris fibers are really unique in that are harvested around here and utilized around here, are very unique in that you only have 2 fibers out of each leaf, and they're on each outside edge. So if you hold them up in the light, you can almost see them glowing. The fibers are corridors. So all the plants have to be able to circulate. It's their circulatory system. So all plants have that characteristic of having long corridors. In the monocots, it's in the leaves, because that's all, everything goes up and down their leaves to take sun and energy from the air and everything from the air, and then take it down to the roots. It has to run back and down those corridors. It's the macrosiphon tenax, which the Latin implies that it is a strong iris, meaning that it's fiber-bearing, or iris macrosiphon are the 2 that people talk about. They're the ones that you can extract the fiber from. They have all different color of flowers. You can't go off of it, it's the blue flowered one or the brown flowered one or the tan flowered one. They cross constantly and they cross-pollinate, and the flower colors are all very different. The identifying characteristic is that they're low to the ground. A lot of times if you don't realize they're iris, you'll just think they're clumps of grass, and they're very thin, and so you can almost just walk right by them. So the way that you harvest them is you identify them, number 1, and it definitely is a tedious thing. It takes you a long time, but they can be harvested in a completely sustainable fashion. I have harvested the same hillside every single year rather heavily, because I teach classes and I have to pick samplings like this bundle that I brought. And I've harvested over multiple years in the same spot, and have, if anything, seen the number of leaves and the health of the leaves increase with the harvesting techniques that I use. So I've never seen a detrimental effect to my harvesting. And the reason that is that I follow certain rules. And so the ones that I follow are, number 1, you never go in until it's fully grown, and it's just because it won't work. So this is an example of the leaf, and this is a very, very large one. A very, very long and really nice deluxe one. A lot of times they're only about this long, but they grow essentially the way the iris grows is it has a little sort of base piece here that all the leaves are coming out of, and there's multiple numbers of them. Then it grows every year, and as it finishes its growth cycle, starting in about August, usually it varies depending on the climate and where you are, but it starts searing at the tip right here. And when you start seeing searing on some of the tips of the pieces of the iris, that means that the fiber, the leaf, has reached its maturity, that it's grown as much as it's going to grow. And that means that the fibers are fully developed and able to be extracted. If you only take one leaf out of each clump, or one leaf out of every 2 clumps, you're not taking too much energy from the plant. It's still going to have adequate energy to go dormant because it's used to losing quite a few leaves to animals eating. But you got to leave enough that it can take further impact by other animals and other people possibly, and the plant will still survive. And that's where you make your judgment. So if you ever see a detrimental effect happening, if there's not as many plants as you remembered, that could mean that you're over-harvesting it. If you grab near the base and pull lightly, then you can actually pull the leaf out of the root base without uprooting the clump. You look for the nicest ones in the clumps. If you do uproot the clump, you plant it back in the ground and pat it back down and let it, hopefully it will live through that, but you try not to do that as much as you can. On a fresh leaf, you can coax a few fibers out, but you can't do it really efficiently, and you have a lot of breakage. And so the account that I read basically said that people would take it home and hang it up in the eaves away from the smoke of their buildings before they extracted it, and that would allow the extraction to happen better. And then if you come in and you do the splitting on a green leaf, and this is where, when I was first learning how to do this, this was reading an account in one of the books, which I'll talk about, sort of gave me the little key into how to do this right. You try to do this and it just breaks. You rip it and the fibers break. If you don't properly wilt the leaves before you try to extract the fibers, you can't really get them out. You can coax them out really carefully, so but chances are they're even going to break. You have to be really careful not to break them. So that's one edge right here, and that's the other edge. But see, it bled out. It didn't get the entire length, so it wasn't as long as it could have been. With these, if I come in, and the difference is I split it out. So since it's on each side edge, you use your nail and you just split the leaf in half. And then when it's properly wilted, you come in and you rip slightly from the wilted side, and you get down to that fiber very easily. It doesn't want to break, and you can clump and actually scrape with your nail. So what I'm doing now is showing how I am going to be extracting the fiber from the leaf. In order to access it, you put a mussel shell around your nail if you're going to be doing a lot of this, because your nail does get worn out. So then that's what's doing the cutting. And sometimes it's unclear. When your first step is, since the fibers are on each outside leaf, outside edge of the leaf, there's 2 fibers in each leaf, then you actually need to divide the leaf in half. You come in with your edge, either your nail or your mussel shell, and you slice it from the middle out, and then you turn it around and slice it the opposite way. And that leaves you with the leaf split in 2. So there's a split edge and a fiber edge on each piece of this leaf now. Then you find the split edge, you come in and you sort of rip it a little bit with your nail, which is either the mussel shell and your nail. And then see how I got down to my outside edge? So that's my fiber right there that I'm trying to extract. If you pull it like this, it does come off, but it starts to bleed out and get skinnier. So if you can get it off in a better state if I'm pinching it between, and sometimes it does break doing this, especially if you hit a sharp spot of the mussel shell, but you pull out and see how I'm crumpling the green up. That usually gets the fiber off in a more thick piece, and it also scrapes more of the green off when you do it that way. So then I can come into my other half, and you don't always get everything off. You just have to keep processing until you get what you need. You hold it here and you split out, turn it around, split out. Then you have your piece and you twist it like that and actually cut it down to that fiber. And then this is where I get it in here and I squeeze it between my fingers, and that crumples all of the excess leaf underneath so that it comes off the fiber cleanly, and grab it here and rub it off. So that's what I pulled off, and this is what I am left with. So this is my ripped part, twist it out to get down to my single fiber, crumple the leaf up. So see, this is, I'm clustering it in between the pressure of my fingers and running my nail over the fiber. So that got that piece. Crumple it up here and run it over my fiber. See how cleanly and long that works? When it works, if it doesn't break under the pressure of doing that is when you get the nice longest pieces. One more. So I come out to the fiber, I crumple it out. This one feels good. And see, it's crumpling under my finger and bunching, and I've got my nail pinching between my nail, and I grab this leaf, crumpling it up under there. See, this is what I crumpled away. I took away, so I just have that fiber left. Then I come here, find my ripped edge, which is that one, get my fiber and scrape it off, get my fiber and scrape it off. I can come back and clean it up. If you're harvesting a green material, it's really important to dry it and let all the bound moisture go away before you try to twist it into fiber or weave it into a basket, because the diameter of everything shrinks when it seasons. When the water goes away, its diameter gets smaller. So if it's been twisted into something and the diameter shrinks, your twist will be loosened. The same as with any of the hard fibers, the way they're formed is they're very monofilament-like. And the way they're actually supposed to be structured is actually they're sort of pieces glued end to end on each other. And for that reason, they don't take a twist as easily as the finer, more net-like soft fibers. So they also get more elastic when they're wet. And so you soak them in water, and that allows them to take that twist without shearing. It gives them a little bit more flexibility. So especially if you soak them in warm water, it's very helpful. You want to soak it for at least 10 minutes. You don't want to leave it soaking forever, but it's okay if it's soaking for quite a few hours. But what it basically, I would consider it, you don't ever leave it soaking. It's okay for it to dry out and be rehydrated. So you never leave it soaking when you're not using it. So what I usually do is just about at least 10 minutes before I start, I try to get it on, and that way it's really getting fully hydrated to its depth. If you just dip it in water, it doesn't get hydrated all the way down to the core, and it'll snap more easily. So what we're doing is just making sure it's fully saturated, and then just you leave it soaked. It doesn't matter if you're working for 5-6 hours, that's going to be fine. But when you finish your work session, don't let it soak until the next time you come back. So then all you have to do to dry it out, you should just take it all out and let it hang. I have my fibers, and they are ready to spin. I hold them and I twist my right hand away from me and my left hand towards me. And that creates the bound energy that wants to make this reverse on itself, which is the whole curlicue that makes this happen. See how that wanted to come down and make its curlicue. So that's the beginning of the cord as it starts. So that's our start, and it won't come apart. It holds itself solid. So then to make the string happen, I come in and I hold the two cords apart like this, and I roll them under my hand, my right hand, to make the cord, tightly twist the pieces. Then I manipulate them by rubbing back and forth or changing the tension so that now they're tightly parallel and right next to each other, but I haven't lost any of my stored energy. And then when I roll back with my left hand, they twist around each other and make the string. And it all happened between here and here. This is my bunch of fibers to start a cordage twine, a cordage ply with. It's clumped right now, and it sort of ends very abruptly, and it's real clogged up. And so to start it, I want to start moving and staggering some pieces to elongate it and make it so that the ends are more tapered and more staggered. So that allows me, when I fold it over, then hopefully my two elements are going to be similar, and they're not going to be ending abruptly, and they taper down, so that as I'm splicing, I can lay more pieces in. And that's the trick with these, is making sure you're holding them, crossing at some point. So then when I decide that's a good layout to start, I take my pieces and I spin my right hand away from me and my left hand towards me, and that twists it up and stores the energy. And if I do that enough and keep storing the energy, it wants to corkscrew around itself and twist up. And that's the twist that creates the string. So then when I go into the leg rolling, that's been my start. I come in, I take the pieces, I hold them together, roll it down my leg, keep the 2 points tight with my fingers apart on my left hand, and my right hand is sliding these down. I can feel that they're tightly twisted. I manipulate it by rocking back and forth so that it's parallel. So now it's together in both my right hand and my left hand. So they're snug next to each other, so that when I roll backwards, they twist around each other and make the length of string down to here. So I'm splicing more fibers in. I lay them in between, right here, so that they're pinched. I untwist, join those together, untwist, join those together. Now the critical part of making the leg rolling work is that at the beginning, you have to have your fingers separating the two plies, so that your fingers, the pads of your fingers are touching in this Y. If you don't do that, you don't get a clean store of energy on the twist going down. So you're rolling down now, and as that twist is happening, I'm keeping these pinched, and that makes the twist really, really solidly focused between my two hands. So this is the storing, the creating the twist part. Now I need to make them parallel, so I do a manipulation. So I'm moving them, number one, to slide them together with my right hand, but in the process, I'm actually bringing them together with my left hand too. So now they're tightly parallel, but still spun. There's been no release of the tension. Then at the end, I come back, and the backwards motion is what twists them around each other. See, and when I let go, see, everything was happening between here and here. Nothing was happening anywhere else on the string. And that's why I have to do that tight holding thing, let them come together, be parallel, and then when I come back, they twist around each other. And that's your next length of cord right there. Okay, so I'm adding string to this cord that we've been making. I need to splice in new fiber, so I lay it in the Y, right here in the junction. I put my hand on there and pinch the fibers, the side I'm adding to, which is here. I untwist it, and then I lay these fibers down and add them in there. So then when they get all spun to the right, they act like they were always there. So then this part, I bring these down and lay these on And I'm only going to go a little bit because I need to splice to the other side. I unroll this side because it's a much thinner now than this one. I needed to add a lot of fiber at this point.